I always feel better and more genuine to myself if I'm wearing something that I either created or just had some sort of like influence on. Um, yeah, it makes me feel like I'm expressing myself more, and I feel like I can communicate more with like what I adorn myself with.
And what was your pathway into that? Like, how did you learn the skills?
Yeah, so I started sewing when I was young. My grandma gave me a mini sewing machine, and that's how I learned. And then I was able to take classes. I grew up in Chicago, so I had a lot of great opportunities to take sewing classes and just like general art classes, and that like really influenced my interest in fashion. And I would say like it wasn't really even an interest in fashion, it was more an interest in like clothing as art, like textile art. So yeah, I kind of just like went for it on the fashion path, and I studied it in college, and then I realized that I was more interested in textiles, and that's like in college I kind of learned more about the exploitation of labor and the environment in the fashion industry, and that like really pissed me off. Um, so that led me to where I am now at FABSCRAP, and kind of tackling this problem of waste. So yeah, like here at FABSCRAP we are really just tackling more of the textile waste problem, not so much the like social exploitation in the fashion industry, but that's definitely another like motivator for me.
Can you talk a little bit more about that motivation personally, in terms of why I guess you make statements with your clothes, really, don't you? That
Yeah,
have
for
conversations,
sure.
or
Yeah. My motivation is really just like trying to get more in touch with myself, I think. And then also communicating with others, not even verbally, but just like visually. Yeah, I like that.
so they're kind of like social and emotional benefits that you get from being hands-on with your clothes. Can you go into that a little more?
Yeah, I really enjoy making my own textiles, so I do a lot of like hand weaving and hand knitting and also crocheting. And it is like a lot of repetitive actions, but it is kind of like therapeutic and meditative in a way. And it's just like always super nice to see the finished product. Like that gives me a lot of joy and excitement, and and then I'm able to connect with others based on what I make and what others make. And yeah, it definitely helps me emotionally to work on those personal projects or make garments for other people or mend for other people. Yeah.
So I guess it's helpful for your mental health. And do you want to talk a little more about that? You know, the rush that you get from completing something?
Yeah, I do feel like I just get like a lot of serotonin from completing a project, and that obviously benefits my mental health. Um, but I will say, like, too much work in this field like can lead or can cause burnout, and I have definitely like gone through points where it's like I'm at a blockage, or I don't feel like creating, but then as soon as I do, like it feels so good.
And you have fabulous access to resources here at
Yes.
FabScrap.
Yeah, I'm constantly inspired by everything that we get here. Like every day we get pounds and pounds of fabric, and every week I think it's like 6,000 pounds. Um, and it's always like a mixture of garment samples and also like fabric yardage and trims. And it's just really interesting to see like what designers are scrapping, throwing away, and also like what they're working on. Yeah, I'm very influenced by textiles, and yeah, I'm so lucky to have this resource for sure.
And in terms of perhaps helping solve the textile waste problem, like how do you think individuals and perhaps government and brands, like what changes needed in in those areas?
Yeah, so on like a really large scale, I would say there needs to be a societal shift and more of like a reckoning with capitalism and how that drives us to like destroy the earth and destroy ourselves and our own health. Um, so yeah, on a large scale, I would say like just really a behavioral switch is needed and more of like a questioning of like why do we produce so much when we don't need to and when it hurts our land and our people. But on a smaller scale, I would say like there could be way more regulations on designers and big brands to help reduce the amount that they produce. And a lot of the brands that we work with, they often have like excess fabric that they just like don't need or don't end up using. And if there were more regulations on that, then it would kind of ease the load for us. And yeah, I think it's just like people need to think. Like people need to think about like what's gonna be the end of this product or this garment or this fabric or this accessory. Like there needs to be more thought in the whole life cycle of a product.